Hello Kingdom Hearts fans. Today we are going to be Riku's story for Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without using any commands. If you missed the Sora video, a link should be in the description as this is the unofficial part 2 for that video. If you already know the rules for this challenge, you can skip to this point in the video. Otherwise, I'm just going to restate the rules I made in the Sora video. Thanks for wanting to hear my voice, guys. Before I talk about the rules, I should state something that is very obvious. For those of you unaware, using the attack and magic commands are the main ways in this game that we use to attack. It is also the main way that we can cure ourselves other than using a save point, so we will have to beat all of the bosses without any way to heal ourselves. The rules for this challenge are very easy. I can't use any commands that would normally be located in this area. That's it. Essentially everything else is allowed. Reality shifts are allowed, flow motion and flow motion attacks are allowed. During drop sequences we can attack and use magic normally, as drop sequences don't count. Dream Eater Link attacks are allowed. Towards the end of the game, this will be incredibly useful since we do a lot of damage with Riku when we use Dream Eater Link attacks. I don't think anyone will have problems with those rules as they fit with the no attack command challenge. However, Dream Drop Distance is not one of the Kingdom Hearts games that I play a lot. What that means is that this challenge was done on a new Game Plus save so that I could carry over my spirits from my prior save. I did do this challenge on beginner for my sanity and as a proof of concept, but depending on how well this video does, I can redo it again on proud. Don't worry guys, there is still a lot of pain in this playthrough by the challenge itself and by my lack of skill. And with all that out of the way, we can start the mayhem. Our first boss with Riku is going to be the Hoko Monkey. Hoko Monkey isn't at all difficult and you are able to beat the boss without any commands. Since this is Riku's first boss, Hoko Monkey won't do a lot of damage to Riku and we are able to attack the boss whenever we want. You can ride around on the rails if you want and use slow motion attacks to damage it if you want. Overall, this is an easy fight, so just enjoy it. Next up is the Hunchback of Notre Dame's world, and this time we have to fight Wargoyle. But I guess in between my Sora video and the Riku video, Wargoyle leveled up, so now he can fly. Not really a problem though. At the start of the fight, I was playing stupidly and only defending myself instead of attacking. This is the wrong approach in this challenge. We need to be as aggressive as a bee with diabetes when we fight Wargoyle, so get in close and personal to fight him. Don't be afraid to jump off of the cathedral and fight Wargoyle. Somehow Riku has learned to fly all of a sudden, so when you jump into the air, we won't fall. Don't question this, guys. His friends are his power and gravity bows to the sheer power that is friendship and light. Now that we are in the air and able to get closer to the flying Wargoyle, we can attack him and that's it. Use reality shifts when they become available. Firstly, it's free damage to Wargoyle, and secondly, it'll stop Wargoyle from doing a desperation move which wastes more time. And just like that, we will have beaten the leveled up winged Wargoyle, and we are good to travel to the next world. When we enter Tron's level with Riku, I'm not going to count the bike attacks that we use when fighting the boss. This is more of a PSA for the few of you wondering how I did this part. I don't know how else to get through this part without shooting. As for when we fight Comantus, this boss will be interesting to say the least. Just like with Wargoyle, we need to be as aggressive as the microtransactions in Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, and the microtransactions were very aggressive in that dead game. You want to keep swinging the Keyblade. Moreover, this boss takes some time to beat. I should talk about the Dream Eaters that I'm using. There is absolutely no rhyme or reason as to why I'm using the Dinosaur Dream Eaters. I think they do more damage relative to the other Dream Eaters, and I like fighting with dinosaurs compared to bats or fat pigs like Meow Wow or Meowjesty. Anyways, with you being so aggressive, you will eventually get the opportunity to use a reality shift attack on the boss. And whilst it does no damage to the boss, you will need to do this a few times since the boss has an HP barrier that we can't cross. We won't be able to continue to damage the boss if we don't do the reality shift move. I was also trying to show off for you guys and activated the Blade Charge Link attack, which means sacrificing my 2 Tyranto Rex Dream Eaters. The Blade Charge Link does a bit more damage than regular Keyblade swings and has a very long reach, which is what we want. Overall, this is not a tough fight. As long as you stay near to the boss and stay as aggressive as Unchained Key's microtransactions, you should be fine. In Pinocchio's world, we will then face the Chaw Clobster. This fight took me about 5 minutes. Chaw Clobster isn't even hard, he is just long. Most of the time that you are attacking, he will not take any damage. This part of the body that Riku has to hit is just high enough that hitting it is inconsistent. Sometimes Riku will hit the boss and sometimes Riku will miss the boss. However, this is all assuming that you can get to the boss and you can actually hit him. The reason for this is because most of the time the boss will act just like my ex-girlfriend and attempt to ghost us. It will run away as soon as we get next to it, or just like my girlfriend, it will become a vampire and hang on the ceiling. My girlfriend was mean, guys. Fighting this boss is just a pain, honestly. When it does decide to go on the ceiling, you must run to one of the edges of the arena and hit the balloon tonsil thing to change gravity. Of course, there's a good chance that when you change gravity, the boss will then move back to the floor that you were just standing on. So you'll have to run to the new side of the arena to switch gravity again if this happens. Honestly, this boss is just long, but he is completely beatable without using commands. Just long. This is a boss that I recommend leveling up for. It's a long fight, so you probably are going to need to have a high defense to not die as quickly. And if you really are struggling, I recommend using one of the Dream Eater links to give Riku a new attack. The Dream Eater links will make Riku's attack stronger, and it gives Riku a better range for attack depending on which one you use. Unfortunately, I have terrible luck and was saving my Blade Charge Link to be used at the end of the fight. While the boss had different plans. He kept pulling the same move my ex-girlfriend pulled on me and kept running away. But like my student loans officers do to me, we will have to chase after the boss relentlessly and kill it. Just like with Sora's campaign, we can't progress the game once we get to this point. Before we can go to the second half of the game where we want to enter the Three Musketeers or Fantasia world, we must return to Traverse Town and do story stuff. Fortunately for us, there is nothing difficult in the second visit to Traverse Town, and there was no boss fights for Riku, so we are clear to go to the next world. Well, the next world that I chose was the Fantasia world, and this level was easy. It's just basic enemies that we fight, so we can level up, and it doesn't really matter what level we are, since the final boss for this world is the literal devil, which is just another dropping sequence where we do fixed damage. And since it's a dropping sequence, it doesn't count, so we can do whatever attacks we want. Having leveled up from the Fantasia world, we are definitely over-leveled for the Three Musketeers world. The bosses in this level are really a joke. The 3 mini-bosses are the 3 Beagle Boys. I'm not sure they are even worth mentioning, but they are very easy to beat. Riku can essentially trap them in a corner and wail on them until they die. The final boss that we will fight for the final Disney World will be Holy Moly. This fight was one of the more interesting fights in this game and reminded me why I dislike Dream Drop Distance. I want you guys to keep an eye on the drop meter as it's going to get spicy in a bit. Anyways, like I've been saying for all of the boss fights so far, we need to be as aggressive in this fight as Santa Claus is with breaking in and entering people's homes. Stick next to the boss and just keep wailing on him. There is no special strategy. I think that there is another HP barrier for this boss as well, as he will stay on the ground for an extended period of time as we wail blows upon blows on the creature. Maybe I should have used one of the Dream Eater attacks to beat this boss in one go, but it's possible without even doing that. When the mole retreats into the ground, you've entered the second phase of the fight. He'll send out his hand or multiple hands to attack Riku, while all you have to do is hit his hands. As you can tell from the drop meter, I was having more stress from the meter running out than the actual boss. I got super lucky towards the end of the fight as I was actively looking for the mole and he just decided to teleport behind me for me to beat him. I beat this boss with less than 5 seconds to go. I was so proud of this, guys. Sure, I could use a drop me not or drop before the fight, but I like living on the edge. And finally, we are able to come to the final world, the world that never was, and things are about to get rough. Anti-Black Coat will be the hardest boss that we will have to fight in this game thus far. He is also most definitely harder than every boss we fought in Sora's campaign. The main reason that this boss is terrible is that he has a move where he sucks out all of your HP and transfers it to himself. Obviously, we can't heal, so when this move takes our health down to 1 HP, a gentle summer breeze will be enough to kill Riku. This was also the first boss that was able to bring down my Dream Eater's health to 0, so you know it means business. This fight is difficult. I don't have any real advice for this boss. What I recommend is sacrificing your Skelter Wild and Tyranto Rex to use the Ghost Drive Dream Eater link, as this worked somewhat consistently for me. This is the best strategy that I could think of to damage the boss. Again guys, this is hard and there may be a better way. This is just what worked for me. When you have Ghost Drive, you need to be more aggressive than usual. More aggressive than a used car salesman when he sees a sucker. You have limited time to wail on the boss since Ghost Drive expires quickly, so you need to use this time wisely. Ghost Drive is recommended because it makes Riku teleport when he attacks, and the combos Riku does in Ghost Drive are long and powerful. If Ghost Drive didn't exist, this challenge may not have been able to be completed, as I struggled on this boss for over an hour. I took the longest time with this boss and grinded with Riku for at least 3 hours because of it. When I did run out of the Ghost Drive link, I was very fortunate that the boss didn't have a lot of health left. We still need to be stressed though, as he can still suck out all of Riku's health and bring us down to 1 HP, so always be wary of the attack where he sucks out your health. Once you beat him though, you should be fine for the next few bosses. Immediately after beating Anti-Black Coat, we will have to fight Ansem. You can't swap your Dream Eaters or anything yet. This fight isn't too difficult, but I recommend not using your Dream Eater link abilities. You want to refill your link meter for the fight directly after this, so you're gonna have to fight a little cheap. Don't worry though, this fight isn't as difficult as the Anti-Black Coat. You are still just being as aggressive as an old lady when shopping for medication, which is very aggressive. But you won't lose hair over this fight, like the previous fight. Use your reality shifts whenever you get the opportunity and you should be done with this boss in no time. And finally, you will have to fight Ansem 2, which is immediately after your first Ansem fight. There will be a few cutscenes and now you'll have to fight him. Surprisingly, this fight is a lot harder than the first Ansem fight, but it took me about the same length of time to beat him. We were saving the Link Meter Dream Eater attacks for this fight. So when the fight starts, attack Ansem. Just keep hitting him whilst he's inside his egg thing. My recommendation is to just activate the Link attack now. Of course, there may be a better way, but this is what worked for me. The reason we want to activate the Dream Eater Link now is because he has a lot of health to get rid of. So I know what you guys are saying, we don't need to use the Dream Eater Link now. Yes, we can use the Keyblade and take about an additional 30 seconds to get rid of the same health, but the longer we are fighting him, the more likely we are to take damage and the more likely we are to die from that damage. Using the Dream Eater Link attack just makes the first phase of the fight go faster. You will know that you've entered the second phase when Ansem pushes you to the edge of the arena. When he pushes Riku to the edge, you can just run back or use flow motion to get back to him faster. Once you make it back, the fight is basically done. You should have enough time to combo him and win the fight because Ghost Drive did a ton of damage from the start of the fight, which is why we used it. And now it's time for young Xehanort. This is the hardest boss in the game, with a close second being Anti-Black Coat Nightmare. I think we all know that young Xehanort is a tough boss fight though. Before this fight, it is recommended to get your link meter filled up so you can use it during the fight. Obviously, I didn't take my own advice because I'm a dum-dum. However, I had max link for my Tyranto Rex Dream Eater, so I used the Fire Raid link with him to give Riku a ranged attack. Trust me guys, having a ranged Keyblade attack like Fire Raid will work wonders for young Xehanort. Young Xehanort usually teleports a fair distance away from Riku, so you won't be able to hit him with regular Keyblade swings. But with the Fire Raid link, his teleportation jutsu will not be effective. Using the Fire Raid attacks is super useful because of its range. It basically acts like a magnet for young Xehanort and tracks him for like 20 meters, so you can just mash the attack button. However, because we are using a link attack, we will be doing a lot of damage to him. This has a second effect though. It will make it so that Riku doesn't take a lot of damage, and we need to keep our health as high as possible for the next part. Once young Xehanort goes into the center of the arena, be ready to use your reality shift as fast as possible by mashing those buttons, as the timing is very tight and you most likely won't survive a second round with young Xehanort. Once you use the reality shift, you are officially in the second part of the fight, and this will be the difficult part. You need to damage this damn clock in the center, but it's very difficult to do so. Young Xehanort will constantly attack you, therefore making it near impossible to damage the clock. However, he will tire himself out or need to recharge or something after a certain number of attacks or time has passed. We need to take advantage of that. So what you need to do is just run around the arena and wait for him to stop attacking and use those few crucial moments to attack. You will also want to use your Dream Eater's link meter at this time. Before we use the Fire Raid link from the Toronto Rex Dream Eater, now we are going to use the Darkest Fears link from the Skelter Wild Dream Eater. Again, there may be a better way to do this, but this worked for me. When you use the Darkest Fears link, be as aggressive as a squirrel when collecting nuts for winter, which is very aggressive, and do as much damage as you can to young Xehanort's clock. We don't want this fight to be longer than it needs to be, and we need to maximize Riku's damage output. The good thing about the Darkest Fears link is that Riku teleports when attacking, so you may be able to avoid getting hit and do some damage to the clock before you have to retreat. And to a degree this worked for me, as I was able to just get young Xehanort's health down to 1 HP. And with that, I just needed to land one more hit on young Xehanort, and I was able to beat him with the sliding crescent dash attack, which I think was my first boss kill with this ability ever. This is the hardest fight in the game, but especially for this challenge, it was brutal. The Armored Ventus fight is the last fight, but after fighting young Xehanort, this is more of a relaxing fight to enjoy than a challenge. However, since this is the last fight, there is no use in saving your Dream Eater's link attack, so I immediately went into the Toronto Rex link for Fire Raid and mashed the X button to attack. And as a reminder guys, you also have a third Dream Eater that you can swap out with one of the current Dream Eaters in your party. So if you're struggling with this boss, you can swap to that Dream Eater and use their link attack to make short work of Armored Ventus Nightmare. In all honesty, if you can beat young Xehanort and the anti-black coat, you should be able to beat this boss. You'll know you've won when the boss does this shot lock thing where it locks onto Riku. When you have to clash with the boss, just keep mashing X to do Riku's Nightmare Clash attack, and you will win. You can die here though. Trust me, it's possible because it happened to me, but as long as you mash X to do Riku's Nightmare attack, you will soon beat the final boss of Dream Drop Distance. So can you beat Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance without any commands? Yes. For both Sora and Riku's campaign, you do not need to use any commands. Sora's quote-unquote campaign is by far the easier campaign if you're going to do this challenge. If you do decide to play as Riku, you will have to grind, and you will have to grind a lot more than you did as Sora, since Riku has tougher bosses. I recommend going to as high of a level as you can before you want to kill yourself, and at least being level 50 before doing any of the bosses in the world it never was. Unlike some of my other challenge playthroughs, there are no secrets or special tricks involved in beating this game. It's just pure willpower and having a lot of free time. The only thing that I really think was crucial to beating this challenge was having the Dream Eater link abilities at the end of the game. Swinging the Keyblade will not be very effective against endgame bosses, since they can teleport far away from Riku and enemies don't really like to stagger. Guys, I'm sorry if you all wanted the DDD no attack command challenge in one video, but at least this way I got to show more of the gameplay and talk about each boss individually without having to skip any of the fights. So that's why Riku and Sora got their own videos. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment down below telling me what you thought or if you have another challenge, as I like to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching.
See you soon.